Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Anne, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What the Why. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured out that this was their purpose. If you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or if you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether that is in your company, your career, or even your life, all of our guests have something in common with you. At some point along the line in their lives, they decided what they were doing was maybe not exactly what they wanted to do, and they decided to do something different. And today's guest is no exception. I would like to introduce you to Erik Truxon, someone that I've had the pleasure of working with, believe it or not, almost 2 years. And it sounds kind of crazy. But Erik Truxon is a dedicated small business owner and licensed electrical contractor, serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area for over 40 years. So, as the founder of Just It's Electric, and I like to remember that based on the song, like Just It's Electric. So, anyway, Erik brings hands on experience from a lifelong journey in the electrical industry, guided by the values in everything, give thanks, which is really important, and work hard, play harder. Raised locally and a proud graduate of Masterman, which is very impressive, and Central High, Erik is known for his personal approach to professional service. He is passionate about entrepreneurship, community support, and one of the things I love most about him is helping others spark their own success. So please, without further ado, welcome me and I think Erik Truxon of Just CEO of Just It's Electric from just on the other side of the bridge in Pennsylvania. So, yay! Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. So, as our audience knows, thank you to all of you who've been watching, especially those who've been following since day one, now that we're in our fourth season. We asked every guest who starts, we're not really clear whether or not what you're doing now is what you thought you'd be doing when you were a little kid. Because there's other things you do in addition to Just It's Electric that we're also going to touch on. But just for the record, since we have had a couple of people in 4 seasons actually say they are doing what they wanted to do when they were little, what did you, Erik Truxon, want to be when you grew up?
Well, I wanted to be a telephone or electric wiring repairman. That's funny enough. I was always fascinated with when you walk down the street and you see the guy up on the pole, either fixing electrical or telephone wires. I had no idea which one it was, but I was like, I want that to be me. And turns out that's what I'm doing. The other thing I thought about being a teacher possibly because I love probability and numbers and math in general, and I was always good with it. So those are the two things.
Okay. So you're in the category of almost doing what you thought you'd want to do in actually other than, well, no, you still get to climb poles. So, so tell us, how did little Erik, who wanted to be both a teacher and a helper and work in this field, get from those dreams of childhood to where you are now?
Well, that's a long road.
Well, fortunately, we have
So
30 minutes. So,
so when I was graduating from high school, I was steered towards electrical engineering due to the fact that I had a high math and science aptitude. And during that time, that's where they steered you to engineering in general. And in my case, it was electrical. Um, Only problem with that, I guess if you could call it a problem, is that I like tangible things and not abstract things. Now, engineering is great, but a lot of it is abstract thinking. Of course, I can do it, but as I've learned over the years, you got to steer more so towards what you like if you can. So it'll last 40 years now. I don't, so that's one of the things. And that got me here. So the problem, like I said, was that the other problem was I can't sit still. I can't sit still. So,
mm,
you know how someone sits in an office and has a team, and as you progress, you get a bigger team, you get more responsibility, but you're sitting still. In contracting, I'm never at the same place too long.
yeah.
So that just was right up the alley for me. So I went through an apprenticeship after going to school as an electrical engineering student. And I became a electrician, and then I actually became what you call as a pusher pretty quickly, which is a person who's like a sub foreman who helps move the job along. Then I became a foreman, and I did pretty well as a foreman, pretty young foreman. And as time went on, uh, my head just kept hitting this glass ceiling that I didn't like. Um, I didn't really, so I went and got my license really, and was doing things on my own for a number of years before I actually stepped all the way out. Um, and at one point, I had a extended hospital stay, and I had an injury, brain surgery that didn't go so well. So I wasn't in a hospital, but maybe a month, but I had a long rehab getting myself back together. It's hard to explain, but you have to learn how to walk again. You're almost like a baby,
Yeah.
but that's what's amazing about our bodies. They do reset no matter what, just sometimes takes longer than others. But when I got healthy enough to come back, they didn't have anything for me. Um, and that was a mental and physical, pretty deep blow for me, especially considering my daughter was about to be a freshman in college.
Oh,
She was going to earth science actually. Well, she's done now. That was a while ago. But we persevered. We did okay because one thing I did know, being an electrical engineer, being an electrical contractor, the knowledge was still up in my head, regardless if I was working for someone or not. So I had over the years, I've done a lot of things where I was in leadership roles. So it was just a natural progression to go ahead and pursue the contracting full time. Um, so in essence, I mean, you always put a positive spin on everything. The job did me a service by letting me go because that was 1998, I think. And now we're in 2025. I haven't worked for anybody. Well, that's not true. I work as a fitness instructor. We'll talk about that, but
I know. I was going to say we're coming back to that
I
because,
don't own my own fitness gym, so I do
yeah.
work for someone else, but that also falls along with the teaching.
Hmm. And the
So I got a chance to
entrepreneurship.
do both things that I wanted to do.
Yeah. It also falls in line with the entrepreneurship because it's part of your self-care as well. So we're definitely going to come back to that. So,
Okay.
and it's interesting because we're in a time now where there's a shortage of talented, qualified, uh, not just electricians, but tradespeople in general. And, you know, there it's something that you've encountered, other companies have encountered, as the demand continues to go up. And, you brought up 40 years, and, you know, at the risk of dating your age, since you already said you've been doing it 40 years, you did really start young. I mean, you're just getting ready to turn 60.
That's
Um,
correct.
and so, you know, we do have a generation right now that is, we skipped an entire generation when it comes to trades. And I know that you've seen that yourself. To the extent that you can talk about it, I mean, you've got, even within your own team, big age differences. There's a whole generation missing in between. And how do you navigate the fun and joys of working with the team members that are like that far apart in their age and their development?
Oh, a bunch of prayer. No, no.
Now, full disclosure, I've met members of his team, so he's not kidding. No.
No, you just have to treat the men and women like men and women. And you have to meet them where they are within reason. We have a certain way that we do things, of course, but I've learned over the years being in business for a while, you have to meet everyone where they are. So someone 25, I can't treat the same as someone 62, but I can give them the same respect and the same responsibility. And I just know it has to be more of a teaching moment for the 25-year-old.
Mhm. And and in alignment with that, I mean, I know you've had people ask you to mentor them. You've taught classes in your field. Um, you've been hosted, I know, shout out to Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation. I know I participated in some things where you were a featured speaker. You're acknowledged expert in your field. And even you pivoted. You've done commercial and residential over the years. You've made a recent, I guess, what in entrepreneurship we call focusing of your niche. Um,
Mhm.
Tell us about some of the changes that you've made just in the past, year or two.
So in the past a year or two, we always done commercial and residential, probably primarily residential. We've shifted over to more commercial, and we've also taken some time to deal more with green. So when I say green, that means energy conservation and saving the world and making it a better place when I'm gone, or not so much when I'm gone, just for the next generations.
Mhm.
So we have done more of the green work, which is your EV stations, and the EV station basically is a car charger for an electric car or a hybrid. And that definitely is a way to conserve energy and to save the world. Also, we have done a lot of retrofitting, and retrofitting is when you change all the old lamps or bulbs or light fixtures and make them LED light fixtures, which is another way of saving energy. And it's actually a lot brighter and a lot of hard better on people's eyes. We've also looked at, this is relatively new, we're starting to do some HVAC repairs and service as well.
Okay. And and I know I mentioned the Philadelphia metro area. You cover a pretty sizable region when all is said and done. I know um, you have an office in Delaware as well as in Pennsylvania, and I know you're working your way over here into Jersey. And, but you've had clients even further. I mean, what would you say is, one of the furthest that you've ever taken on?
We've done work in Pittsburgh, we've done work in Baltimore. That's
Okay.
probably the furthest that we've taken on. Um, I flew out to Dallas, I flew out to Atlanta, to look a couple of times, but I wasn't really that familiar with the workforce. But
Mm.
those maybe are things that we may consider also down the line.
Okay. And what would you say is the most rewarding part of what you do?
Oh, I think the most rewarding part of what I do is help people. I mean, whether it's like you had mentioned, mentorship,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorites, whether it is supplying a job or giving people information on how to get a job, which is good also. And just in general, when you go in somebody's house or you go into their business or you go into their office and they're not happy. They're sad. They're pulling their hair out. They can't figure out things. They have headaches because they're dizzy from the lighting, and you fix it, and you're helping people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I graduated from high school, if you look at my yearbook, I know that was eons ago, but the mantra underneath my picture was I love sports, cooking, and making people smile. So I still love making people smile, and that's why
Oh,
you like helping people.
I love that. That is sports, cooking, and making people smile. That is,
I still do. I didn't know 40 years from then I would still be doing it, but I still am. Or
which is,
attempting to.
which is awesome. It really is. It's so awesome. And and it makes people want to be around you. There's an infectious nature to you. Um, you could be very quiet, like the gentle giant, but your sense of humor is really fun, and you've needed that. You've been through some challenges in the past year, and but throughout, what would you say are one or two of the greatest challenges that you encountered that you really were kind of like, I didn't see this coming, or wow, how do I navigate this?
Uh, well, I mean, the one thing would be, which we talked about earlier, was having a major surgery.
Yeah.
And I was young. I was 32, 33, something like that. So I can say it's a blessing in disguise because as young people, we always feel that we're invincible, So, I think I had a problem with my ear. I had a problem with my knee as a little kid or as a younger person. But something major like that kind of put, whether we're going to be here or not knowing, put things in perspective and made me appreciate life a little more and feel more comfortable taking chances. But on the other hand, I can't speak for other people, but a lot of us who are in business, are really, really, really intense. And
Mm,
people would say I'm really, really, really intense right now, but I can tell you before that surgery, I was even more. So that made me realize that, you got to smell the roses sometime.
yeah. And to your point, I mean, you started your company at a pretty young age. And I know there's lots of people out there that come in and they're like, "Oh, I can do this too." What advice would you offer someone who is just now starting out, whether, it's electrical work or entrepreneurship, or in your case, both?
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's pretty easy, and it took me a few years to learn that. Can't be about the money. I mean, the money will come, and anyone, there's a book, Good to Great.
Yes.
Pretty much any of the top people or people who have made it big, small company, large company, whatever, they didn't do it for the money. The money came. The money came more than they ever thought, but you just got to do it because you got to choose something that you like. So, for instance, my situation went full circle where I had no idea I was going to be an electrical contractor, but when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be electric repairman, and here I am. So it full circle now. I had a road that I traveled before I got there, but I got there by the time about 21, 22, so it wasn't that long. But you have to do what you like. You can't just do it just for the money. That'll work. You got to pick something that you could see doing 40 years from now, 50 years from now, even if it's a part-time basis. You got to pick something that you like.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Um, and something that we agree. We totally agree on that. And speaking of something you really like, we kind of hinted on it earlier. Uh, you are seriously passionate about fitness and exercise. And tell our viewers what time you were at the gym this morning.
Hmm. Uh, so I started out, I had to do arm workout. That was 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
And when I got done, I went swimming at 4 o'clock. And then at 7, I taught my fitness class. And then 8 o'clock, we're here.
yeah. That is some dedication. So for all of you out there who are like, oh, I can't get up at 5 or 6 or 7 to exercise before work. He was in the gym by 2 before he started his day. But this is something that you do because you love. Like you mentioned, you don't own the gym. This is one of the few
No,
places
no,
you're
I
not a
love it.
leader.
I
Just
love it. I love it. I love it. And the one thing I can say, anyone, so I'm actually an instructor,
yeah.
and most of the instructors are entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
nurse practitioners, doctors, uh, people who have high, I wouldn't call it stress, but have high responsibility jobs. So you kind of want to have an outlet. Besides, you need to be in top shape to make sure you can do those high responsibility jobs effectively.
Mhm.
So for me, it helps me as in 2 ways. As a contractor or as an entrepreneur, it helps me physically be able to meet all my needs, and it helps me mentally when I need an outlet. I can go leave that stressful client or that estimate that took me much longer than I expected. I can leave it in the pool.
Yeah, which is awesome because it's not like your day ends super early either. So you put in
No.
something
But
we have.
different people do different things, but you'll find that a lot of entrepreneurs do that because your phone rings nonstop, you have responsibility all day. Nobody's calling me 3, 4 in the morning, 5, up till about 6. Nobody's calling me. So that's my time.
Mhm. I hear you. In fact, I've been channeling my inner Eric the last 3 days in a row. I've been up between 4 and 5. You already would have been done your pool workout and get ready to teach a class. And I've been like, I can't believe I've been up at 5 in the morning. But it's productive. And yes, I mean, in my case, other than the fur babies, everybody leaves me alone. Fur babies, they're like, oh, great, we get playtime. And but there's some truth to that because there's a lot of clarity in that time and space. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And
Definitely, definitely. That time, your thoughts are your thoughts.
yeah, and you're very consistent. I mean, like this isn't a 2 time a week, I mean, how many days are you actually up at this time and teaching the class and doing your own workout?
Well, today I had some other things to do, but normally 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's uh 6 days a week, probably
Wow.
5 or 6 days a week, sometimes 7. But
Mhm.
usually I get a day or two off, or I have a project that'll supersede it, and I'll go to the gym later on in the day.
Yeah. And I know you also are careful with your food too, and things you
Yes,
you do
I'm
health wise.
actually vegan. and and I do my best. I snack just like everyone else, but I try to well, I'm vegan, that's one thing, so I don't eat any animal products. I watch everything
Hmm.
because you can feel the difference, or I can feel the
Yeah.
difference, and like I said, I have to be the time that my eyes are open, I have to be at optimum or as close to it as I can get, because you never know when, as an entrepreneur, you never know when that shot comes along. You got to be prepared and ready. I could be on the elevator and I got 30 seconds. You never
Yeah.
know, but if you're lackluster or you're not at your best, you might miss it.
Yeah. And you're right. And for those who, I know most of this audience caught it, but for those who didn't, when he talked about being on the elevator, that's literally where the term elevator pitch came from. You got 30 seconds to tell somebody on the elevator who you are and what you do, so they can decide whether or not they want your information to follow up with you later. And I know for you, a huge part of the business that you do, or even the people that take your classes, because they've interacted with you and you're somebody that they want to do business with, and which is why you have the rankings that you do and the online presence that you do. And when you take all of that and you put it together, for those who think that they can do it, what would you say is one of the biggest myths about being an electrical contractor or entrepreneur or both that so many people don't realize in terms
Well,
of?
the biggest myth is um if you're a technician, you're not necessarily an entrepreneur. Now, in my case, I've had to be both, but as I've evolved, or as not me, the company evolved. Let me rephrase that because I haven't evolved. The company has evolved. I've evolved a little bit, but the company is where my focus is. I try to take the focus off of me. That's just me. I don't know if everyone does that, but when the way that the company has evolved, I have to be more of a business person than a technician. So whatever you choose, if you're an accountant, that's great. But if you're running an accountant firm, you're still an accountant because I always, I'll go back and put up a ceiling fan, or I'll do a service, or I'll tie something in high voltage, whatever, just to make sure I got it to feel good. But that's not how we make our money as a company.
Right. It's all about you. You are the face of the company. Not
Yeah,
that team members don't support that, but you do all of the quoting, if I'm correct, yeah?
that's correct.
Yeah. And so there's not a lot of companies out there that the CEO personally gets involved in doing the quoting for the major contracts and even some of the minor ones. So as we come down to time,
Hmm.
and we bring it all the way back around, this everything you do is really because this is what you really love doing. And
Correct.
and we want people to find people who love what they're doing, and so that includes you. Um, I don't know if anybody caught it. Um, this was a gift I got from Eric, I think it was about a Christmas or two ago. I use it every day. So, ta-da. And how can people find you online? What's the easiest way?
So the easiest way, of course, they can do a Google search, but it's www just electric.com. Just it's electric.com. And if you happen to go to my YouTube page, you might hear that song.
I wonder what song that could be. It's electric now. So, check him out. And also, obviously you can use the rewind button to write it down, but all of the social media and internet connection information will be included in the bio of listed below this video. Uh, on whatever platform you are watching or listening to this podcast, be it Spotify, YouTube, and other platforms. So, half hour goes fast. Um,
Wow, that's half an hour. It seemed like it was 5 minutes.
I know, and we had conversation before. Thank you, dogs. So, Erik, thank you so much for joining us today, and sharing a little bit about your story, and even a couple things I didn't know. And for those of you watching, like you said, we love the variety of the guests that we have. And we have had really great guests this season, and we've got more in store for you. So please, first of all, thank you for watching and or listening. You have so many choices out there these days, so we love that you're choosing us. And if you think this is beneficial for yourself and or somebody else that you know, please share this information. Help us reach even more people who find it beneficial. And also, please remember, as we wrap it up, same way every week, no matter what changes you may or may not be considering in your life, no matter how big or small, tune in again for more illuminating, entertaining, and informational conversations with guests such as Erik Truxon from Just It's Electric, who knew what he wanted to do when he was little, but went through a number of different challenges and pivots. And you, like all of our guests, can learn from the opportunities that arise from these challenges and pivots to find your purpose and live it.